And we understand Elizabeth Afole is currently being vetted. Let's go there and take a live feed.
Within that time frame.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, my second question. We have not discussed premix fuel so far. That is a major issue in the sector. I do know that under the previous government, efforts were made at, reforming the sector, making it more transparent. Committees were set up, premix committees, and some of them were able to even use some of the profits to do projects. I visited a school somewhere in Cape Coast where, they use the proceeds from their premix management to put up a school which their children are attending. How do you intend to enhance the transparency and local management of premix to make it available to the fisher folks, and at the same time to ensure that it is very transparent?
She answered this question from the minority leader. So, if you can ask another question.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I must have missed that. I would now want to discuss your manifesto with you. You promise on page 54 of your manifesto that you will eliminate import duties for fishing equipment like nets and outboard motors. Can you tell this committee when Ghana should expect this total elimination of all import duties on fishing equipment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We intend to do this in the next year. By 2018.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, my final question has to do with the distribution of outboard motors. That was a very popular program under President Mahama. The records show that over 3,000 outboard motors over the last 5 years have been distributed to fisher folks. How do you intend to continue this program and to expand it to the benefit of our fisher folks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll continue. We'll continue with this laudable effort.
I'm giving the last one to the inland fisher folk of
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you intend to implement the one district, one factory in the fishing industry?
Mr. Chairman, I'm really grateful. Not wanting to make any long stories, I started, talking about the fish smoking ovens. It's a way of developing our fish processing, developing our fish processing efforts. And so we intend to go on with that. I'm also happy to say that as a member of parliament for Quaye, I have already started setting up such a factory. Thank you.
My second one is that most fisher folks want to go into this cage fishing. And in most of the places, they want to do it in the northern part of the Volta Lake. Unfortunately, they raise the fingerlings around Akosombo area. So transporting them from Akosombo to the north, like Bupe and before they get there, the fingerlings are dead. Will you consider establishing the raising of fingerlings along the banks of the lake so that it will encourage the cage fishing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Exactly so. That's what we are going to do.
The last one is, Mr. Chairman, I think it is reported that poverty is very high with the fishing along the fishing areas, mostly with the fisher folks. what are the measures you're going to put in place to make sure that at least you raise their standards of living?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's this assertion that fishermen are poor. I do not think so. I do not think so. Maybe we would have to educate them to do what they are doing better and improve upon their business. We would have to educate them to have a business attitude towards their fishing, and that's how they are going to make it more in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question on shrimp farming, and I want to find out whether, I didn't find it in your manifesto, what will you do to promote? Yes, because I know that the while John Mahama-led administration started something about it. What will you do there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not aware that a shrimp production facility has been started. I'll look at it and then we'll improve upon it.
Mr. Chairman, you know that we have approved nets for fishing. And we have a task force that ensures that the wrong nets are used. No wrong nets are used. Unfortunately, the availability of the correct and approved ones is a problem. What are you going to do so that it is not just the task force chasing those using the wrong nets, but that the approved nets are available for the people who want to do fishing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually have a plan to establish fish input production plants in Ghana. We want to set up, also as a way of creating employment for the people, we want to set up fish production plants in Ghana. And so we are going to make frantic efforts to invite investors in that area. I am aware that some fishermen go to sea with the wrong nets. By enforcing our fisheries management laws, we'll get those people to change their bad ways. Thank you.
Your manifesto, and indeed it is the honorable member for Laura who says I should ask you this question. The manifesto says that in collaboration with the private sector, accelerate. What is the mischief? I'm asking a question based on the manifesto.
Honorable lecturer, please proceed with your question.
Okay. In collaboration with the private sector, accelerate aquaculture by promoting extensive fishing farming throughout the country. No, that's not the question. The second one. In collaboration with the private sector, the NPP will develop inland fishing across the country by developing related infrastructure. What type of infrastructure are you going to develop so that the Laura people who are by the Volta, Black Volta, will also do inland fishing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What we'll do is to come together with the Northern Development Authority to find ways of enhancing fish production around the Black Volta. Thank you.
Okay, now, Minority Leader.
Chairman, let me thank you and also join you in congratulating our colleague Elizabeth Na Afule Quaye. And my chairman is to take care to a matter which is of tremendous interest to the EU, the European Union, and for that matter, Ghana. Ghana is reported to have lost about $150 million in fishing exports as a result of illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing activities, popularly referred to as the IUU. I'm also aware that your predecessor, Minister, Honorable Sherry Ayete, did her utmost best to begin some reforms within the fishing sector, assuring the EU and the rest of the world of a dedicated legal and policy regime seeking to reform the fisheries sector. What steps will you take to deepen the reforms within the fishing sector to avoid or forestall any ban from the European Union?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After the ban was lifted, the EU lifted the ban on fish exportation from Ghana on Ghana. After the ban was lifted, a fisheries management plan was developed. At the moment, all the fishery laws are being streamlined into one law. And so after the law comes into fruition, and we are going to facilitate the promulgation of this law to ensure that we adhere to international agreed conventions so that we will not be banned from the EU anymore.
Chairman, there is a study which shows that the industry nearly had 10,000 dugout councils and about 124,000 fishermen with nearly 1.5 million dependents operate from 334 landing centers in 195 villages. What will be the minister's contribution to alleviating the poverty of these persons and supporting small-scale Ghanaians engaged in the fishing sector?
Mr. Chairman, I visited some of the beaches recently, and what I realized was that a lot of the youth are engaged in fishing, and most of them are not in school. Some of them are school dropouts, and so I've actually met with some of them and giving them enough reason why they should go back to school. I have also suggested to them that we could start with an evening school, an informal education program for them. So we can liaise with the Ministry of Education and come up with a very beautiful way of educating the fisher folk. Also, if we could teach them how to improve upon the business they are doing, then of course it's going to increase incomes at the beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. There is a GNA report citing a stakeholder engagement in Tema, which talks about what in your fishing parlance you call the pelagic sardinellas, or what they call it, mackerels and others. And it talks about a decline from 277,000 metric tons in 1996 coming down to 92,000 metric tons in 2011. What plans do you have to increase the production of the pelagic?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Early on, I tried addressing this issue by saying that the the industrial fishers are already observing some close season. The semi-industrial fishers at the moment are also in a close season in order to improve or to replenish our depleted fish stocks. They all fish in different areas of the sea. So the artisanal fishers are the ones who predominantly fish for the pelagics, especially the small pelagics, which are overexploited, which are found scientifically to have been overexploited. And so we intend to do some stakeholder consultations with them to agree on a close season in order to improve or to replenish our depleted fish stock.
Chairman, the expectation within the fishing industry, and in particular our export market, is for you as minister tomorrow, if you get the approval of this committee, to deepen legislative reforms with deeper sanctions for those engaged in the IUU. Will you do that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I would ensure that our laws are followed through and through, I would not also make it look like the whole nation is against them. Because after all, people go out there to go and look for some livelihood. And so what we'll do is to educate them, help them to come out of their wrongs, so that when they come out of their wrongs, they will not be doing the IUU. If we will intensify our enforcement units, but that is not all. We'll have to help them to do the right thing. Thank you.
The President and the MPP have promised to reduce the food import bill. What will be your sector's contribution for a declining food import bill with focus on the fisheries sector?
A lot of the imported fish come through our harbor, especially the Tema harbor. So there's a ban on some of the types of fish that are imported. And so some try to, get the fish into the country by wrongly labeling the fish. What we are going to do is to have an intersectorial arrangement with the Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority and the Ghana Revenue Authority to ensure that the fish that is imported are inspected. And we also want to improve upon our production. So if we improve upon our production from the present 440,000 metric tons to maybe about 900,000 metric tons, then we would have taken care of all that.
Yeah, thank you. Chairman, the problem still persists over premix fuel. And in the chain of distribution, fuel transporters are mindful that sometimes it's connivance between your officers and the landing size of drivers being compelled to sign on and keep delivery, not deliver it. I'm sure in your briefing you've come across that. What will you do to allow for more transparency and ensure that the product is in fact delivered to the source?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is true that a lot of the fuel is diverted for other uses because there's some waiver on the price buildup. And because of this, the premix fuel, the price of the premix fuel is much lower than the ordinary fuel we have on the market, the petrol and the diesel. So a lot of people are tempted, or they actually engage in diversion of this fuel, and also adulterating the fuel. I have said early on that we are going to ensure that when the fuel is procured, it is followed. There are some tracking systems on the trucks that distribute the fuel. So these tracking systems are intended to ensure that the fuel is not diverted to any other source. It tracks where the fuel is taken from and where the destination of the fuel. What we are also doing is to ensure that we put in place some coordinators, some representatives at the various landing beaches who are going to ensure that when the distribution or the disbursement of the fuel is done, the fuel actually gets to its destination and is not diverted. If any OMC is found culpable, the law will definitely deal with such a person.
Chairman, my final question. I believe that the nominee should have had very good briefing. I do know the Chief Director at the Ministry of Fisheries, Sister Gifty Mahama, and we have reports that tuna, just canned tuna exports, amounted to about $219 million in 2016. And we're also aware that not under your watch, in previous years, and I'm sure that's why I reference the Chief Director, when you get into office, thankfully through this committee and Parliament, there was a BNI investigative report on the allocation of premixed fuel and the usual Ghanaian favoritism of looking at colors of persons and not dealing with this matter. And the problem persists. For the fishermen, what they want is to be able to have their premix. There is a cabal operating within the premix fuel arena that, as minister, we expect you to deal with head-on should you get the mandate of this committee and Parliament. Can we be assured?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the help of the national security, we are assured that all the diversions and all the problems you have enumerated are going to be solved. Thank you.
Chairman, this one is just a friendly one for the nominee. In the heat of the campaign around trade fair and Teshi, you were very, very vociferous on energy sector levy and how that should be reduced for tariffs to be reduced, including electricity. Do you still stand there, or you have a new position on those matters?
Thank you. I still stand on my grounds.
And that the people of Teshi and others can expect reduction in tariffs?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Honorable Afole, I have one question, which is, when I was growing up at Quaye, there was a season every year where herrings, were in such abundance that every family ate fufu in the morning. It just occurred to me that in the last about 10 or 15 years, I've not observed this abundance anymore. You are a coastal girl. What is the reason? Do you know why?
Mr. Chairman, this is a big problem with the fishing industry. We have said time and again that the fishery resources are overexploited, they are overcapitalized. And also with the IUU, too much is being done to our resource. So that's why we have to implement all the management plans, including the close season, including the stoppage of this IUU, to replenish our stocks. Thank you.
My last one. I want to retire from Parliament soon, and I want to go into fish farming. What help can I expect from your ministry?
You want to enter into fish?
I want to rear catfish. Catfish. What help can I expect from your ministry?
And cater school boys.
Mr. Chairman, you can come and see my Fisheries Commission staff, and they'll take you through it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll I'll take that. Thank you. Let me acknowledge the people who came to support the nominee. Mr. Daniel Quaye, the husband is here. Okay, knee boy Jonu, brother to the nominee, Monica Bochi Bobo, sister, Mrs. Gifty Mama, Chief Director, Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Ni Bote Jalisani the second, Nungwa Blanta Manche, Bola Bikukubi Okanjam the fourth, Oyibi Manche, Na Koklu Mobonalo, Amafo Manye, Nia Fote the second, Otino Manche, Nia Fote Tribo the second, Opwegono Manche, Osaberma Ajiman Kakado the fourth, Na Botele Akeyo the second, Bachuna Manye, Na Jemesianye Tebibiano Manye, James Ama, Constancy Chairman Joyce, Zempare, Greater Accra Women Organizer, Ni Tete Botia the second, Nungwa Botia the second, Nungwa Wuleache. Wuleache.
The chairman Wuleache.
Yo, Wuleache.
And that'll be it for news today here on Joy News. Very shortly, we'll go back to the House of Parliament when the Minister Designate for Information, Mustafa Hamid, appears before the Appointments Committee. My name is Beatrice Edu. Thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon.